There are moments that we just want to get the blaming gun and go, it is your fault, bang, and then not necessarily to annihilate, but just to project the way we're feeling. It is your fault. It is your fault. It is your fault. And we go around and we blame everything and everyone. If she did not behave that, I would not do this. I'm only doing this because you did that. You started. How dare you tell me off when you started? I'm only engaging in this behavior because you started this war. Okay, and we feel justified. Others are not justified, but we are. And it's like, we are late because of you not doing this and this and that and the other. And sometimes, and often, they have contributed to the problem, towards the situation that we are living in this moment. It does not feel good. However, when we automatically blame, yes, we don't even think it's an automatic, and it feels like an automatic relief. However, the more we point and blame, the worse we see others and the circumstance, and the more powerless we feel. And equally, in fairness, often there's a little mix, there's a little dance of us and them. Okay? It's like, your fault that we are late. Yes, perhaps that is, but equally sometimes we also behave in ways that make the problem worse or create secondary and third problems and fourth problems. We got a little problem and then we make it bigger and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so, and even if someone does something and react in a way that after we need to take time to heal and recover or calm down, yes, they started, but because our automatic reaction to it, and we made the problem even worse. So the blame game might make us feel a little better in the moment. I hate you so much. Oh, it is your fault. But in fairness, doesn't accurately acknowledge who the real culprit is. This that's the one of dancing that does that laughter to make me laugh. Right? I laugh so much. Love it. You're the best. You're the best. Anyway. Anyway, so blaming. Here's a question for us. Here's some water. Hydrate. It's literally only drink water. Okay, so I'm drinking water just to help with my throat. So, blaming. I just want to blame. Okay, but why do I want to blame? Why? Now, here's the thing. When we blame, it might be one way of managing our anger and frustration and our disappointment. However, it's not quite a fair game, is it? Is it? And the downside of just blaming everything is that then we start seeing others with a negative lens, like they are the source of our problems. Yes, they may cause, but we also have options in the way that we respond. in the way that we can respond, in the way that we can choose to respond. So, also, when we're just blaming, we are missing the opportunity to look inwards and see, and see if there is something that we are actually doing that is contributing, that is making things worse. I hate to admit that often we do. We do. So on the interest of wanting to improve our relationships with ourselves, taking accountability and seeing something as an opportunity to learn from it so that we can do different in the future. So, hands up! What is my contribution? So what is my... I'm just being playful and silly here, but because I feel like being silly. But the honest question is, what is my contribution towards this problem? Okay, I'm blaming others, but... Okay, others are pain in the butt, but... Okay, what am my contribution? Okay, maybe I might have done this and that and the other. That have contributed. Perhaps my patience got on the way, or perhaps there was an opportunity that I could have taken, but I didn't. Okay, so to behave differently. Also by acknowledging our contribution. We recognize that we are fallible, we are blah, blah, blah. I was going to swear. We are human beings, and we don't always get it right. Even ours don't get it right. So we are easing off that pistol, that knocking someone else's down, because if we get into this habit of blame, 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 we don't even think, but then we make each situation worse. Many times, and often, or at times, we unfairly blame someone without knowing the reason. We don't take responsibility for our behavior, and we have standards that are not the same for us and them. Okay, and here's the worst. Not only we have this bad habit of blaming, okay, but if we're blaming, we tend to blame someone. How is that person going to feel? And if we were on the receiving end of the blame, how do we feel? Do you remember the child that grows up in a home, gets blamed for everything? It feels terrible. Then eventually we start feeling that there's something wrong with us. And then eventually we start taking responsibility where we're not responsible for. Where we think that it is because of our behavior, because of the way we are. And it can make us feel hopeless and depressed. That we are inadequate. So we try to be a little fair. We try to be fair for the person that we are blaming. We try to be fair for the circumstances, because sometimes there are circumstances that contribute, that do contribute towards someone behaving in a certain way or not behaving in a certain way. So we will ease off that pedal of destruction, self-destruction, and destroying others. Equally, we are taking responsibility to really look at ourselves and see if we can learn to do things differently. Because sometimes we have vulnerabilities and we do not want to look at it because it's too painful, it's too hurtful, it's too shameful. So, because we don't want to look at it in us, because we might make us feel like we're being inadequate, that we are insufficient, that we can't do something, that there's something wrong with us. So we try to protect us from feeling those vulnerable feelings by blaming others. You should behave better, instead of acknowledging I'm struggling to behave better. I'm struggling to be a good example here. And instead of feeling shame, we blame others because you expect others to behave differently. So, am I fairly attributing responsibility? Is this blame game fair? Or is it more accurately you, they have contributed in certain ways? Circumstances had a contribution, and also I had a contribution. So due to the circumstances, someone is not at their best, they're not at their best, I'm not at the best, so we all contributed by adding wood to the fire, by making things worse, by creating bigger problems. Breathe in, breathe out. Now what can I do for the next step? Perhaps we can just acknowledge I am sorry for my contribution towards this problem. Oh, I'm sorry that I've made this problem worse with my reaction. And then we can want that others apologize for their contribution, but it's on them if they want to or not. If it is someone that we are guiding, such as a child, we might want to encourage or give the example so they can learn. But we can't expect others, because if we do, we're only going to feel disappointed, and our disappointment is only going to make matters worse. But we can just use the example. I am sorry for my contribution towards this problem. Oh, I'm sorry that my this and that and this behavior of mine made things worse. I'm sorry that my, for instance, shouting made this problem worse. Oh, I'm sorry that the time that I needed to regulate myself made the problem worse. And he's trying to see that you're not just this imperfect human being, but just a human being that at times gets things in a less than a healthful and healthy manner, and so do I, and so there's the circumstances. If you go from it's all your fault to yes, you contributed, but also I contributed, and also circumstances have contributed, then we ease off from that feeling of anger, and we let ourselves and others off the hook. And then it's easy to move on to compassion for our struggles and the struggles of others and the circumstances. And also the knowing that no one is perfect and get it all right at all the times. Just trying to alleviate, slow down, and see the humanity in ourselves and others. Breathe in and breathe out. May I be fair to me, others, and the circumstances. Breathe in. Breathe out. I like others to be fair to me, so I'm going to give that gift to them too. Breathe in. Breathe out. I don't find it fair to be blamed for things that is not my responsibility. It doesn't feel good. So I'm not going to give that to others. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to do my best to be fair. And also to have the courage to acknowledge my contribution. Breathe in. Breathe. Acknowledging our contribution is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength and courage. And knowing that we're not superior, we're not better. Just at times we get right and at times we don't. Sometimes we are in our best behavior and sometimes we are not. So let's give others some slack, because at times they are on their best behavior and sometimes they are not. Support each other when we can. And do what we can to help us remove ourselves from the situation if that's the best for our safety. And address it when we can and if it's the best solution. And learn, how can we do things differently? And even recognize in ourselves, why am I blaming? Breathe in. Breathe out. Why do I have this need to blame? Why am I blaming right now? Is there any ways that I can feel better in this moment? Is there any other ways that I could feel better right now? Because sometimes we blame to feel better, because we feel so terrible. But what other ways can I feel better other than blaming? Breathe in. Breathe out. Instead of blaming, can I approach this in a, what can we do differently to avoid this? What can we do to solve this problem, this challenge? Breathe in. Breathe out. I don't like this. And there are negative consequences of these. What can we do differently to prevent, to minimize, to stop this from happening in the future? That is a conversation that we need to have with anyone involved, so that we can hear their perspective and their solutions too, so that we can find, often is the best compromise. Because I can think of my solutions, you can think of yours, and then together we can think of our best solutions, our best compromise. And sometimes we just need to accept it is what it is. Breathe in. Breathe out. So identify what's the need for blame, and then see if we can find a healthier way of satisfying that need. Blame, 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 blame. Doesn't feel good for the person on the receiving end and doesn't really solve anything. Often goes into a, I blame you, then you blame me, into an attack and defense, only makes the problem worse. If someone is feeling very vulnerable and want to protect their ego, and they feel that the attack is unfair, they will throw back an attack back. And someone that knows they don't have a chance to argue with you, they will say nothing, but then they're only going to destroy them. It's only going to destroy them, their self-esteem, their mood, because they're going to feel more powerless and even feel that there's something wrong with them. So it doesn't really solve. We can just say, let's take responsibility and find solutions and do things differently. That's different from blaming. Love from my heart, big hug. Okay, now you're blaming me for wasting your time. It's your choice. Joking. It's the blame game. Told you. Don't argue. Don't blame me because I'll blame you. Joking. Okay, let's do our best to going down the road of blame and see what the function and purpose of it is in the moment, and see if there's something else we can give ourselves in a healthier way, and then recognize that more often than not, that is, someone might start, but then we might make things worse. Okay, so at the end we might have something where everyone involved is to blame, but what that is contributing. And sometimes we really are unfairly putting the blame on someone else. It's only because this is often the case where we are struggling to deal and find a solution for something, and we can't quite project our feelings towards this thing, person, identity, and then we project and blame someone else's for our problems. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be feeling like this. If it wasn't for you, I would feel better. Okay, but we are failing to recognize there are many or several areas in our life that they're not quite as healthy and balanced, that we might not feel is appropriate to. For example, we might feel more tolerant towards the behavior of a baby than it is towards a teenager or an adult, because we know that the baby doesn't know any difference, they can't do any better. We might feel that we can express our disappointment towards our partners, but we can't do it towards our employers, okay, because we are in a different position, and we might feel there'll be repercussions. So we might end up blaming the dog for all our problems. Okay, so we are actually blaming someone else's, but we are failing to recognize that yes, maybe they've done something that it was the last straw. Okay, maybe the dog peed on the carpet and that was the last straw. But we already were feeling vulnerable. We already were feeling under the weather because of all the other challenges that we have. So we are blaming the dog, okay, or blaming the teenager, or blaming the husband, or the partner, or the wife, for all these terrible feelings we are feeling as a result of a multitude of things that are going on in our day, in our life. And even, we might not even be engaging in behaviours that we want to, and we feel terrible. And then we blame someone else's. So, not fair. Not right, but we all do it. But let's just increase that awareness so that we can just be a little fairer. Okay. That is a contribution from A, B, C, D. And that is my own contribution. It is what it is. What can I do right now to improve this next moment? And then when I have more energy and resources, then I find greater solutions, bigger solutions, and I address each one in time. Bye for now, and good luck. In time, things do fall into place. Things get better, and there's less of a need to blame. And then we start seeing things with a different light. And at times, it is what it is.